Saturdays to join you.
Great.
And Judge from the other side. Yeah.
Great. So,
So
we're signing that for
For the street.
the camera. Anything in terms of... So, what we're going to look at in the next 3 minutes, half an hour, is some of the organisational structures that have been set up to help make that happen. And really going to look from two extremes, from the viewpoint of a company like Zocoro that is making stuff happen on a practical level between the artists, including Drift and the kind of collaborations that we just see from Max. But also we have Rebecca here from the British Council, who, amongst many things, is the primary person based here now in the UK is making the Transform programme happen, which is a huge initiative between the British Council, between the UK and Brazil, organised by the British Council. So as we go forward through the day and start to dream about what might happen between Wales and Brazil, it will be great to have those two concepts really, the sort of large scale of what the institutional supports that might happen, and the very pragmatic what happens when a company or a group of artists just get together and make it happen. So we're going to start off, if we may, Christina, with you talking to people about Transform, the British Council, and we can do questions now, but there'll also be an opportunity to draft data to talk to Christina. And if you want, I just check with George, and if you want to show us websites or anything, you can do that. But you will start and sit in sideways in the right location in relation to our
Victoria Tillett said I'm a producer at the Watershed in Bristol, which is a
later this afternoon, so we'll try to see you after this.
Oh yes, my name is Bras. I'm an actor, a waiter and a kitchen porter.
And my name is Marnie, and I'm a company member with the program.
Hi, my name's Alistair. This person seen streaming here, and artist designer as well.
I'm Jorge, I'm a co-director of Zakura and co-creator of BL6, and we'll speak more later.
And I'm Christina, artistic coordinator, Christina Becker, coordinator for Transform, British Council 4-year program, linking through the arts with the UK. I also have my festival. I'm the curator of Artes de Fala, which is a lecture performance festival. We are going to say something later today on this festival, which Zakura Jorge and Charlie took part in 2011. So I think.
Over to you. Tell us about Transform.
So Transform is a British Council arts program, and the reason that Transform was well created is just because, of course, taking advantage of these two big global events, which is London 2012 and Rio 2016. So Transform very much is a very innovative and ambitious program linking the two countries, not only presenting or showcasing work, but mainly bridging institutions, curators, artists. We want to promote dialogue. We want to really bridge the right people into the right projects. We have managed to invite and commission specific projects, which is very much what Victoria is doing with Watershed and the Global City, whose partner is Porto Digital. But we are also working with existing projects, such as festivals in Brazil, the Film Festival, the Dance Festival, and other events that happens in Brazil for years. So Transform was launched in London in September the 12th, and it was launched in Brazil on the 1st of October. We were lucky enough to have the screening of Hitchcock's silent film at Copacabana Beach with 6,000 people, so it was really an amazing experience and completely unexpected, successful attendance. So we had British Council worked with two curators, Graham Sheffield, the head of art, British Council, and Julie Kelly, South Bank Center, artistic director. We also have a board of advisors where we have the sector of culture in São Paulo, the sector of culture in Rio, the president of the Arts Foundation, Funarte. We have Barbara Tate, Tom Albert, among others advisors. So as I said, Transform has managed to work with specific projects that were already running in Brazil, but we also commission new ones. So we have projects that will cover the 12 world cities in Brazil and more or less, depending very much on the opportunities that our local partners offer in Brazil. So it's a very challenging program. We are very privileged to developing this one. We know that Brazil being a continental country, how much we need to do really to cover most of the country. So we have managed to have projects in Rio, São Paulo, Recife, Manaus, Minas Gerais, Belo Horizonte. So this is very much what we've been doing. What else should I say? One thing that needs to be very clear, and this is very much what would be the transformative aspect of the program, is that we don't want only to showcase, as I said before, but we want to really promote dialogue, to promote collaboration in a very different way. We would like, when people meet and when people join together, they really are able to think about something new, something innovative, something really transformative to their lives. We have 5 pillars of transform aims, let's say. So we are working with the refugees, we are working about social inclusion. We want to bring arts and disability to the table and discuss this and explore connections in Brazil. So it's very much about exploring new avenues and new connections. And we have managed to have England initiatives. We have a strong combined projects with Scotland. We have managed to bring Northern Ireland to Brazil through a performative music festival, for example, and we are now developing a stronger element for Wales to be part of the program. So I think this is what I could say. Of course, Victoria, if you would like to add your point of view. We, as I said, we have curators, 2 curators, but we have co-commissioned the watershed to think about a project. So it's called the Playable City.
Yeah.
And so I think Victoria could add something else.
Yes, that's right. So the British Council came to us with a proposition of developing a festival for Recife, because Recife has one of the biggest digital clusters in South America, called the Digital, and it seemed like that would be a really good connection between the work that we do with the watershed and the work that's going on in Recife and the regional element. So I was thrilled to be able to go there and spend some time talking to a lot of practitioners who were working in that space, and found that there was kind of this joint between people who were doing cultural and creative work and the technologists and the software. So we're looking at how can we create something that is kind of useful, that brings those 2 communities together, as well as bringing together the communities across the UK. And in the UK, it was really important for us not for this to be kind of watershed centric. So we're kind of organising it, but we see it as going sideways throughout the organisation, throughout the UK, and working with a lot of different organisations around the country to make this happen. The project that we came up with was in CD Playable City. Playable City is a strand of work that we are developing at Watershed, which is looking at kind of what the Playable City would need. So in terms of technology, there's a lot of work going on around infrastructure, with smart cities where they're trying to access and everything the Minority Report. So it's like, how can we sort of look at the other side of the coin from that? How can we make our cities playable and kind of interesting spaces where citizens can rethink the spaces that they're in, make a difference with services, kind of have experiences that use these technologies but in kind of interesting, meaningful ways. We've actually just launched a £30,000 award separate from this, which is open to artists to apply for at the moment, Playable City Award, City Growing, you might be interested in because this is for us the beginning of an exploration about what this can mean. So we're continuing this work with the British Council, with this project in Recife. So the whole of the project will be responding to the scheme for the Playable City. But we see it as a kind of exchange between practitioners and companies in Brazil with those across the UK, and we've got a kind of 3-stranded process to enable that to happen, which will include kind of making new projects, looking at building sort of professional development about creative producing and those people who can really bring those projects together. So hopefully that will help to build some legacy beyond the end of this programme to make people more
year 2016 and beyond. Of course, we have a very strong and consistent list of projects that is under our UK Brazil season. It's from September to March 2013. But then after that, we will carry on. So Transform is working very closely, and we have organized the arts element for our UK season in Brazil, but then we will carry on. So for example, the watershed happens in June 2013, and we are now populating with other events. We want and we will hopefully, with your help, to build something in longer term. Just to attract your attention about the website, George, I'm not sure if I would like to show the first page, of the, So you see, this is the Brazil version, but it's the most updated because you see that we have, as I said, specific projects like this one. It's a very new one. It is a literature festival that happens with Modus Prazeres, which is a favela, Shantown in Rio. And that was a completely innovative new festival. So it was very much what we would like to see, British presence with Brazil and doing something completely innovative in terms of working in the peripheries and in the communities. So this is Tony Marques, the curator of Flupi, and then we have the City, we have South Bank Center at Carolina, Bahia. We are working closely with creative economy, so this is an article that was published with Brown Sheffield when he was in Brazil. And we have, there is a combination of different ways of working. So it will be very much. We are also very, very lucky that we have a Ministry of Culture in Brazil, the Foundation of Arts, the Sector of Cultures in the different states of Brazil working closely with us. And we also are very interested in identifying ways of funding this program because, as you know, the British Council is not a body funder anymore. We are working in a very different way of connecting or doing connections that through partners in the UK and in Brazil to make sure that we not get the best of Brazil and UK showcase, but also new ways of funding for the arts, which is very much what we are trying to explore. And also how much the expertise from the UK in terms of policy to the arts and funding to the arts can also be replicated, or vice versa, how much Brazil has explored new ways of fundraising in Brazil in terms of tax breaks and all, a very specific way of delivering the arts. Okay, so that's it for now. And we thank you, Victoria, and I think we can further discuss later.
Okay. Should we just take a moment in case people have got burning questions now? Because I think one of the interesting things around the table here is that we've got everything ranging from young artists through to with the institutions, so from quite big to quite individual, and I think you may have questions about how they even approach you. I don't know whether we might also want to talk a little bit about, I know you've already been there since Monday, where it sits.
I was just thinking, I started on Monday, I'm summering by Friday.
Where will you be by next Tuesday?
At least it's not 7 minutes, isn't it?
So, any questions before we talk a little bit about the
Well, I just come back to what you just said about how you approach us. We don't have call for applications. I mean, there's no call for applications for Transform. We very much are open to proposals in terms of, mainly we would like to see the proposals very much connected to institutions or initiatives or festivals of projects that we won't be able to, of course, depending very much on the idea of this proposal, we could and will help you in establishing links in Brazil, but it would be very helpful if this connection is already in place, because this speeds very much the decision making. So the decision making of the proposal is very much related to the co-creators program, but also the head of arts in Brazil, Luis Guardassi, who sits in São Paulo. So it's very much for, and Luis works with the board of advisors as well, a smaller one, that helps him to come to decide, in terms of funding allocation, the balance of art forms, and also the aims in terms of regulatory transformation. So the more you have connections in Brazil, of course, Don and I, we are here to help you to establish that. But the more you have connections in Brazil, the better for us to really think, well, this is not starting from zero, we have something already in place. But of course, we will, even if it starts from zero, we will help you to deliver that. So it's open.
How long is the British presidency?
How long?
No, actually, the presidency. How many people?
Now we have a team of almost 10 people. We have the director in São Paulo, we have an assistant director in Rio, we have 1, 2, 3, 4 other people in São Paulo and another 3 in Rio. So it's 10 people, 9 to 10 people in total.
That's the people
For arts, arts, and we have a colleague in Recife as well, Carlos. So yeah, it's 10 people. And me, I'm here in London, working with them. I'm the liaison with the arts group and the CEO.
So is it fair to think that if a group of artists has a proposal or an idea and perhaps not living yet in Brazil, but perhaps living in Wales, is it okay to approach you and discuss the idea before you submitting a proposal?
Well, we are very much open about arts initiatives, but as artists initiatives. But as I said, it would be very much easier for us if it would be through an art center or a festival. You know what I mean? Because then you have the support of an organization as well. Sometimes it's not that easy for us to link you to the right artists unless it's a platform, it's a group initiative. But individual to individual at this point, we are not working yet because it's so much, yeah. So we have different layers of connections. So we are not ready yet to work individually.
Right. So another hypothetical situation, if a group, a collective of artists has an organization to link to.
Yes, that's.
And what would the first step be to discuss the idea with yourself? Right.
With that in Wales, who's now head of arts, and then perhaps he will also suggest other ideas for you to add to your proposal, and then of course we will come to meet to us in Brazil, and then we will.
So it's very much about conversation.
It's always a work in progress.
Can I clarify that there is funding for this, or there isn't funding?
Well, the British Council has managed to. Yes.
I was question, because you said before you were looking for new funding, what's the funding thing? And you said there's money in Brazil, so I'm not sure.
Well, I have to say that the British Council would never be able to deliver a program like that without funding partners.
Right, yeah.
This is for sure. So the British Council has put some money, and there is some funding for the program in the next 3 years. We also have managed to work on an agreement with the Arts Council in England. The Arts Council is matching some of our funds. We also are in close conversation with Creative Scotland. We are also in conversation with Arts Council of Wales. And we hope very much, the way that we are working in Brazil is very much, for example, back to Brazil Cultural Center, the Institute for the Arts, and there are several companies that have their own foundations and institutes that call for applications. So, and also the sector of cultures and the Ministry of Culture. So you have different pots of money that is with us.
So if, like Caroline said, there's an interesting project, and you thought it was a project, they talk about the same chapter of the work. Where is the lot of money in most of it come from? From
Arts Council Wales, for example.
Wales.
Yes.
Okay, so it's the funding decision, if you like, is more of a watch-based decision as opposed to a Brazil-based.
Not really, because, it depends very much, because, the decision about agreeing that proposal is part of transform is one stage, isn't it? This is one stage. So the other stage comes very much on how much does it cost? Is it already funded, or is it partly funded by Arts Council Wales, for example? So can we match some of these funds that already is confirmed? You know, it depends very much.
Yeah, I was thinking because it just gives an idea of how you need to stand up.
No, it's not a good question. I've worked with British Council on and off over many years, and we always get the same answer in relation to funding, which is maybe, but it's sort of over here, and maybe it's here, and have you got any? But actually, there is one. You know, there is one in the British Council. This is a huge initiative for them, and clearly there's nothing going on in Wales at the moment in relation to Brazil exchange. And so we need to make sure some of that activity and some of that resource lands here. And I'm sure that Christina would have got on the train early this morning to Newsall if she didn't want there to be some activity coming from Wales. There are two, I'm going to just ask George to talk a little bit in a moment, but there are two people that we were hoping to be here today who seem to have somehow got lost on the very long walk from the offices on the other side of the page here. And then Louise Wright from Arts Council Wales, formerly in the British Council, and Ellen Tabb from Wales Arts International. And I think in putting together any substantial initiative from Wales in relation to Brazil, those will be the other two key partners. So I hope very much that they'll be around the table today, but in their absence, let's just make decisions about what they should do. For those who don't know, Wales Arts International is a Welsh agency that tries to support international exchange, and it's particularly good at usually paying for artists and producers, etc., to visit other places and to make those kind of practical exchanges. So usually not huge amounts of money, but relatively accessible actually. So they are one organisation to look at as a partner. And obviously Arts Council Wales needs to decide. I noticed you said you were in close talks with Creative Scotland and a partnership with Arts Council England, but only talks with Arts Council Wales. So obviously there's a ways to go before they decide.
And this is in progress, isn't it? It's just because sometimes it was made a decision. The decision was made, and Graham Sheffield, head of art, he wants very much to see Wales. Yes.
Great. So that's the bigger picture that we go into of trying to gather people here today is to think, what sort of things might we put together in this end. And I imagine that once you've got your feet up to the table, you're going to be really the key.
Absolutely.
Absolute key person.
I mean, the only thing I can really say at this point is I've obviously come in and there has been a handover from Greece and Brazil as well at the top of the first time, and that seems to be promised that we need to do this and work with wider art students.
So BR116 is a great example of artists putting things together and making stuff happen. And
some people around the table don't know about the old six, but some people will know relatively little. So it'd be great, maybe George or Shannon, if you want to just give us a quick intro.
We'll be really quick. So, BL16, we kind of, as I said before, we've been doing this for quite a long time, but it's very much an artist initiative thing. We're very much an agency for artists, both the artists that we work with and also other artists that we might not directly work with, but that we want to support. And that's part of our development as an artist agency within Brazil, which is a part of our strategy for our role in the UK situation, which is much more about us as creative artists. So we have our fingers in about 5 pies in Brazil, 5 different cities, more or less. We have connections in some, connections means we work there, in São Luís, which is in the northeast, and in Recife as well, and in Belo Horizonte, and in São Paulo, and of course in Rio de Janeiro, where we have a base slightly outside of the city, which both John and Cristina have visited, and that's of course in Veracruz, in Miguel Pereira. And so we have a kind of base there now. We've been working like this and across the Atlantic for quite a long time, and that's built up quite a lot of resistance. We have a lot of resistance, I feel, about how it is to work with 2 companies. We created a huge show called Hotel Mateo, which was half with British actors and half with Brazilian actors. And just in that learning curve of doing that, I think we gained so much insight into really what international collaboration between Brazil and the UK looks like on a really grassroots level, like totally away from institutions, totally away from funding bodies, but really from the heart and from the street, like something that was very, which I kind of want to keep a hold of in terms of that spirit of artist collaborations, doing it for nothing else other than itself.
Because we've been based in Brazil and UK since 2001, and pre any Olympic announcement and pre-Brazilian overtaking several countries as a large economy, when the focus between Brazil and UK started becoming very large, we started asking us a number of questions about did we want to continue working like we were working? What did it mean that we had a few years of comings and goings between the 2 countries? What was our role in this, and so on? And a number of these questions have given birth to the projects that we are now doing. One of these questions was about the relationship between art making and its place, between the different countries working and work that travels to be shown as well as to be made. And some of these questions we started approaching last year with a pilot festival. Some of these images are from the festival last year. It was a 5-day festival across London, asking questions from artists based in London, in Edinburgh, in Rio, and in São Paulo about their relationships with the mega city they were based in the case of São Paulo and London, and then with other cities that have a big migration backwards and forwards of arts making and arts presentation, i.e. the relationship between Rio and São Paulo route and the London-Edinburgh route, especially for theatre. So we set it up last year as an experiment, and the format was a 5-day festival. And what we did ask of the micro commissions, the artists that joined us, is that they created their work as a question, and that they placed it in one of the London transport systems. So we had Max working with buses and walks. Is that correct? And the other two. Get in there. Yeah. We had Gustavo Sirico from Rio working on an MP3 piece on the boat, and then after walking there on. We had Alexander doing a walk and the tube with the Rage Walk at Venice that ended in Trafalgar Square. We had Luigi Oliveira with one of the Boris bikes doing a messaging service between artists in the city. And we had
The Nomad Cafe.
Yes, Nomad Cafe, which was a foraging project finding bushes around London and collecting stuff, making it and then selling it and giving it, let's say,
Eating it.
eating it in the tube as well. Yeah. So the interest of that event was about bringing people who normally don't share some experiences together. They might talk to each other, but they don't gather in an artist-led environment, a participatory environment, an immersive environment, and one that is driven by questions rather than presentation platform mode, where a funder comes and watches the artists do their best with their piece and hope it will be bought or will be toured. Instead, bringing people to a conversation that is led by performance or led by their arts practice, either making or whatever. We've had one example with Max earlier today, and we'll have another 3 of those sessions that hopefully will give very different perspectives into what presumably collaboration might be. And that richness and that art form is what we would like leads these conversations and this thinking. And in a way, what our interest is with BR16 today and eventually what it can become online in its presence and its future events is a networking opportunity for conversations to happen at a micro level. And one of the things that BR16 has inherited from our organization and our desires is that things take a long time to build. And we often work with residencies or staying in places for a long time, longer than anyone can fund, longer than anyone can agree is reasonable, but that we believe that real conversations and real work and real impact starts to come out after long mistakes and time and conversation and so on. So I think that's one of the identities of the BR16 and its interest in its conversations. But today's pretty much about you as much as about us, and we'll go into a few structures that allow you to input some of your information and desires, and that allows you to talk about,
So there's going to be a little bit of moving and jiggly-pokery and getting up and tables scraping across the floor and